Welcome to the Midnight Vigil, the channel where the stars are always right and there really is a monster hiding underneath your bed. This is my review of Cultist Simulator. As usual, I will discuss the history of the project, give my impressions about the game, and conclude with its overall legacy. As with most of the stuff that I do on the channel, this is an audio episode, so feel free to minimize and go about your life. Cultist Simulator just came out on the 31st of May. It was successfully kickstarted, where it made nearly 3 times its initial asking budget. Cultist Simulator comes from the mind of Alexis Kennedy, the creator of Fallen London and the creative director of Sunless Seas. And we're already in the impressions and speculations portion of the video. Okay, so first things first, I really love this game. I'm going to encourage you to get it because I recommend it, but that's going to come with something of a caveat. Cultist Simulator is tough to describe, and watching some early gameplay honestly kind of confused me. It's tough to describe, definitely, but you could consider it basically a single-player card-based narrative game. That description didn't make any sense to me, but it feels almost like a digital board game of sorts. You draw cards, which are really well written and help dictate the actions your character will perform, and you have to infer what's going on in the overall story behind the scenes. You're tasked with creating a cult, getting it started and off the ground, recruiting cultists, and dodging the ever-suspicious Suppression Bureau. And that's all I'm going to tell you. The fun of the game is in exploring the world and its mechanics. Since Cultist Simulator is a game all about storytelling, I'm going to describe my first and short playthrough. Hannibal, the main character, went through life and was eventually fired from his menial job working at a hospital. Hannibal was kind to one of the inmates of the hospital, a gentleman who had gone quite mad in his old age, and was willed a sum of money and strange papers after his death. The money helped stave off the expenses of life, since Hannibal was quickly let go from his job, and the papers allowed him to make a mysterious acquaintance, a fellow practitioner who studied and sought the greater mysteries of the beyond. Hannibal and the Pawn formed a cult, the Glory of Morning, and quickly came under the suspicions of the Suppression Bureau. Wakefield, a dogged investigator, quickly worked to uncover the dark practices of the Glory of Mirrors. All of it was for naught, though, as Wakefield met his end at the hands of a particularly muscular hired assassin. Hannibal, though, wouldn't last much longer either, as the toils of running and maintaining the Glory of Mirrors proved too much to handle, and he succumbed to illness and died. Death was only the beginning, though, and Hannibal and his cult were remembered by those keen to seek the influence of the cosmic horror lurking beyond the edges of human perception. Yeah, my first playthrough wasn't very long. I only survived about an hour, but that's part of the fun. The discovery, figuring out what to do, and how to become the best cult leader is part of the charm of the game. So that caveat. Yeah, I definitely recommend this game, but I think the target audience is going to be the type of gamers who obsess over lore in video games and their favorite fictional universes. If you read all of the item descriptions in Dark Souls, can tell me about the inner workings of Westeros' politics and houses, and are deeply knowledgeable about what a parsec is and why Han Solo was able to complete the Kessel Run in 12 of them, this is the ideal game for you. Also, it's deeply Lovecraftian, and I can never get enough Lovecraft in my life. This is a great adventure in his dark and disturbed playground, and the writing and world building is so great in Cultist Simulator, just like in Kennedy's other works. Sunless Sea was a great game, and I'm happy to see that the strong narrative storytelling tradition carries over here. So in conclusion, we're at the final portion of the video where I discuss the legacy. This is going to be a short section since the game is so new, but it has an 80 on Metacritic at the time of this video and has a mostly positive rating on Steam, with 79% of 110 reviews recommending the game. It's tough to tell how this game is going to be remembered, but it's been selling well on Steam, and it has very positive reviews and impressions so far across the board. Kennedy's games in general have a cult following themselves, and among the faithful, it's being received very well too. I discovered Sunless Seas from my slavish devotion to Lovecraft, and it's once again my love of Lovecraft that brought me to this new game. Fans of the Mythos will find a lot to love here. That's all for now, guys. I know this is a short review, but I'm only 12 or so hours into the game, which is about 4 playthroughs so far. I usually don't do reviews on games that I've never finished because I think ethically there's a problem with that in games. But I've gotten a couple of playthroughs under my belt. I'm starting to understand the world. It's starting to click a little bit more. And I'm hoping that my voice can add to the positivity about this game. I'm hoping that, the word gets out about how good Cultist Simulator is. Since Kennedy's done some great work here. And, obviously, if this game gets a following, we can get continued support for it. Kennedy has announced that there will be some DLC for the game, and those who purchase before June 7th will get free access to all future content. So consider checking it out before then. It's a tough one to describe, which I keep saying over and over again, but I feel like most people who review this game kind of have that same problem where if you're not really into Alexis Kennedy and you're not really into Lovecraft, this was my first card-based game of this type. I had no idea what to expect, but if you like dark horror or Lovecraft and single-player games in general, I would really recommend you just purchase it and dive in. I didn't know what I was getting into when I bought the game, and I'm glad that I took a chance on it. It's pretty challenging as well, but I love how addicting the gameplay is, and reading the lore and discovering the narrative has been a lot of fun as well. That's all for now. If you liked the video and the content on the channel, maybe considering subscribing, and if you have a Twitter, you can follow me at Midnight Vigil. I will see you guys next time.